Welcome back. I hope you managed to have a stretch and have water for those who needed some quenching. Let us start with the business of the day. We are now moving into the next panel. This is panel number 2. The moderator is Marwan Messiry. It's on IT capacity development. You would have heard, as we were discussing earlier from the panelists, Claudia, I think she also mentioned this item. Melissa on her video, she also mentioned the issue of capacity development. We also heard, as we were talking on cybersecurity, there was a mention of capacity development, skilling up our youth, skilling up our people, so as to get to a point where we are able to have enough capacity for us to move forward. I think it is something which lies at the center of everything that we ought to do. It is a principle, I think, that is resonating a lot with most of the African governments, which is a people-centered approach to doing things, where people are at the center. And everything that we do, we ought to take our people along with them. And the only way for us to move across a social stratum is to ensure that we have got education disseminated, both education and training disseminated to the people. It is a very hot and a very important topic that has to be taken. And at this particular point in time, I would like to hand over the reins to Marwan Messiry to take over and moderate for us this next session. Thank you, Marwan.
Thank you, Tao, for this introduction, and welcome you all to this very important and very insightful panel. I'm Marwan Messiry. I'm the marketing manager of IKEN Technologies, and would have the pleasure to introduce my fellow members of the panel, starting with Mr. Hassan Wunmi, President and CEO, High Tech Center for Women and Youth, who will also give us an insights about this part of this segment of the market, of course. And let me welcome also Engineer Hany Mahmoud. He is the advisor to the Egyptian Prime Minister on digital transformation, with vast experience on the topic, both on digital transformation and on capacity building. Melisssa Sassi, with the global head of IBM Hyper Protect Accelerator. Hello, Melissa, welcome. And also we have Koffi, Fabrice, the board member of International Center of Emerging Technologies, Federal University of Technology, MENA. Hello, Koffi. Welcome all to the panel. Today we're having a very critical topic, and in my opinion, it is an enabler of so many technologies and so many developments. I'll hand over with a very important question to Engineer Hany. Hello, Engineer Hany. What do you think the importance, or shed lights, please, with your vast experience on the capacity building importance in the area? Please.
Thank you, Marwan. Actually, capacity building, especially for African countries, is the top priority now to facilitate digital transformation and moving to the digital era as per the rest of the world. Actually, I divide the capacity building into 3 pillars. The first pillar is for everybody, for public, which is awareness of digital transformation and why you are focusing on digital transformation and what is the importance of digital transformation in the day-to-day life for every person living in this planet. So the digital revolution now is moving very fast, especially after having COVID-19 disaster, and we found that digital transformation saved us from a lot of things and facilitate our life while we are sitting at home. So the first pillar for the digital transformation, for capacity building, is an awareness campaign, actually explaining to the public, and either if they are specialists or not, how to really facilitate the digital transformation and understand the importance of the digital transformation. So for them to really give some sort of push to the government and the specialized organization in moving everything into digital. So this is the first pillar. The second pillar is about users. So in Africa, not everybody can use technology. So we have public, first pillar, we need to have an awareness campaign about digital transformation. And number two is to work on the users, how to help users of technology to be ready to the new era, and how we can actually develop programs to help them using the technology in different areas. So in the past, it was only using PowerPoint and Microsoft Office and things like that. Now, the usage moved on to a lot of applications and a lot of internet sessions that needs to be understood by everybody on how to use it and how to get the maximum out of it. Everybody's using internet, but very few knows how to get the maximum and how to get benefits of the digital transformation. How can you use technology to facilitate your life? So second pillar is users, and how can we help them getting the maximum out of technology and out of digitalization. The third one is the professional people. How can we develop programmers? How can we develop cybersecurity, as we talked in the last panel? How can we develop cybersecurity that became now very important for every country and for every organization using technology, because you can lose everything if you don't have the right cybersecurity. So building the experience and building the knowledge on very professional way for those kind of people who are going to help us in programming, in cybersecurity, in infrastructure. So this is the third type of building capacity. To summarize my opinion about building capacity has three pillars. One is for everybody. I mean, cascading the awareness for normal people, even if they don't really read and write. So they need to understand what is digital transformation, why digital era is important, why it's very good for everybody, even if you are not using this technology yourself. Second pillar, users of technology, which is more or less maybe 40% of the population in Africa. They can use technology in a way. How can we accelerate their experience in using the technology and get the benefit out of it and facilitate their lives? And the third pillar is talking about professional people, and this is maybe 5 to 10% of the population. People are working as a professional. Their profession is technology, and how can we develop their experience and to develop their skills and competencies for different technology areas like software, cybersecurity, infrastructure, and things like that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Engineer Hany. It seems that there is a lot of integration between the three types and the three pillars Engineer Hany just mentioned. like that they have to work together in order to develop the entire platform or the entire industry itself. I'll move on to Wunmi. Please, would like to have your feedback about this issue, about the value and the importance of the development. Please go ahead.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. I'm very happy to be a part of this discussion. I've been listening since morning. Thanks to the last speaker, I think he has actually brought out quite a little bit of this different groups that we should be looking at. For me, I think, yes, we've had quite a lot of capacity building around the areas he has mentioned, software. A lot of people are getting interested in cybersecurity. So we are getting so much interest. But of late, we deliberately in our own organization, we begin to see the challenge of so many people know what they think they know in cybersecurity, in software. And the question is, after they have known that, after they have developed the software, who is buying it? Even in Africa, in different countries, who is patronizing the made in Nigeria, for instance, made in Ghana, made in whatever software? That's a big issue. So it is not just enough for us to become graduates and we come out of many universities or tertiary institutions. Many of our people don't have the capabilities they need to manage the industry. So we still have us receiving from Western words, as it were. We still have us having things being dropped on us. And then question is, how long are we going to continue in that space, becoming the users of technology and not producers? So one of the things we have deliberately done is to look into hardware, because I realize that nobody talks about hardware in Africa. And that's unfortunate, really, because we really need to become producers. Even if it's a part of some of the hardware we use, we think it's going to be a better opportunity to produce and then become at least users. Even if we are using it for ourselves, then we think about exports. We should have the technical skills we need to be producers of these technologies here in Africa. And so for now, we have started engaging in reverse engineering and deliberately doing that because we realize that many of us being graduates in IT, in science, in technology, we still have a whole lot of challenge in understanding many of the things that even make up the components of technologies we carry about. You'll be surprised that any graduate of computer science cannot identify the parts of the computer. That's a big issue. That's part of the digital literacy that we need to begin to teach. It's part of the knowledge for everybody to use, because you see people who are Africans, who are from different places, who would go out to be cheating others because they know they don't understand what it is they need. So in terms of capacity building, like the last speaker said, the first level is the digital literacy, which includes both hardware and software. We need to be deliberate, we need to be intentional, and then going forward to begin to harness all our technology skills, all the design skills, all the instrumentation skills that we have as graduates, either in electrical engineering, either in computer engineering. And it's not just software that makes technology. A lot of things are there, embedded systems. We need to begin to harness knowledge in embedded systems. Now we are talking about artificial intelligence. Are we just going to sit back and begin to learn the simple Lego things that we teach in schools? No, we need to aspire to become producers of robots that will do things in IoT for us. So we need to build capabilities in each of all of these areas. So for me and what we are doing in our NGO is to ensure that we begin to relearn. Many of us are graduates. We've heard about artificial intelligence all my years in the university as a computer science student, but I've never seen it happen. None of us, most of us didn't see these things happen. So we need to bring our graduates out of school and raise kind of internship for them where they can do skill learning, where they can practice, where they can understand how to work the machines to work. And because of that, that would help us to look forward to an African nations that are producers of technology. In other words, we can see the front end and the back end of processes that we just take software and then just cybersecurity. I'm into cybersecurity training, and I realized that it is in different phases. But one important notion that Nigerians or Africans have is that we just want to do software and everybody is just in the software space. But the question is, if we want the change that we are looking for, we need to see hardware. We need to understand the back-end processes. We need to understand the synchronization. We need to be able to know the skills. So these are the kind of skills that we are trying to learn and we are offering to people to learn with us. So that in the next 5 years, we want to see us produce. And we'll be proud that this is proudly made in Nigeria, made in Africa. And then very soon we can begin, because we need to solve our problems. And the local problems don't have to come from international all the time. We can come on. This corona, the lockdown period, gave us an opportunity to see local challenges. And the fact that the borders were closed, that's part of the issue. We need to begin to think inward. Some of the things we import, some of the things we think we can't do. I am beginning to see engineers who are working with us now to say we know what to do, just we need a space to do it. So as our hub, we are bringing in different researchers, different engineers, different informal sector people who didn't go to school, but they learned how to do one thing or the other. And in that collaboration, there must be collaboration. So we are working on different areas. Now we are producing solar panels here in Nigeria by ourselves. We are producing biogas digesters by ourselves. We are beginning to put together how to produce some of the parts of mobile phones. We can do it. We just need to try it out and then bring the right people to the right table. Technology in IT, it's not about all of us direct computer science. There is a what we call the opportunity to bring in all of the generic technologists into the discussion. Engineers that are our colleagues, the Korean engineers, the electrical engineers, we must all come together. And then we must make a difference for Africa. We need to have products that are made in Africa. We can't continue to import. What we spend as economists buying components on mobile phones alone, it's so huge. You need to look at that across the countries. And that means that we are only responding to what is coming from outside. We are not daring to produce locally. It doesn't matter how it starts from. We are ready to bear the shame as it is, not even a shameful thing. Once it is working, it doesn't matter if the technology is not looking good, we can perfect on the, on the physics at the end of the day. So this is the area of skills I want us to push at and see partnerships and see opportunities. We are looking at a lot of devices already and things are happening. We are bringing even the welders who know how to weld. They are trying to work with us to say, this is the design. Can we put things together? Can we have it done and proudly say it is done from us? And that is the way we are looking at capacity building. If the universities are doing their little bits with the little funding, we can come out as NGOs, as organizations, as private sector, investors, and begin to invest locally into the brain drain, not a drain. Many of us will leave African countries, we go abroad, we get them, we learn what we learn, we don't come back home again, and we are not ready to develop Africa. But for a few of us that are interested, we must be passionate. We not just go.
One me. Seems that
I don't think that it is doable to. So that is a thank you for this time.
Thank you, Mia. And additionally to what there is a lot of insights that have been said here, starting from producing of technology, not just being consumers of technology. And I just want to add cannot help myself. I want to add a little piece that the integration between Egyptian nations, between African nations, excuse me, is very critical here at this part. And the knowledge transfer and having a unified vision for the continent a unified technology vision is one of the things that I think is very integral with what we said. Melissa, I'd like you to add here your point of view, and also to shed a bit of light on the responsibility of developing the public, the users, and the professionals, part of target audience set by Engineer Hany and confirmed with Wunmi. Please, Melissa, share with us your insights.
Absolutely. And I love the words that Wunmi just shared with us. One of the things that, I try to do in my role at IBM, and I'll introduce myself first. My name is Melisssa Sassi, and I'm responsible for entrepreneur and student experience within the IBM Z division of IBM. And I focus on empowering early stage startups and students to not just be consumers of technology, but creators, makers, and doers. I watch a lot of times startups come to me from Silicon Valley. And the first time that I ran my Accelerator last year, the second day, I had video call after video call after video call with entrepreneurs. And my team said to me, "How did that go?" And I might have used a few colorful words. And I said, "It went awful." And they said, they were all very shocked, these looked like great companies. I said, "Yes, how many female entrepreneurs did you see? And how many Black entrepreneurs did you see? How many African entrepreneurs did you see?" And everyone was quiet. This year, I'm excited that we now have 34% of our startups from the continent.
That's good. That's
We have
definitely good.
53%
That's
of our
great.
startups with at least one female founder. I know that I was supposed to do a keynote this morning. By the way, it's 5:12 in the morning for me. And according to Jimson, he said it was okay for me to pull up my presentation and kind of zip you through the keynote, which is very relevant to what we're talking about. So Marwan, if it's okay with you,
Please,
I'd like to share my screen.
please,
Awesome.
please,
And
our
what I'm going to
pleasure.
talk about is what can we do? What is IBM doing? And what can we empower young people to do? And these are real opportunities that are sitting right in front of us. And I'm going to also make an announcement of something that has not officially launched yet. For this presentation today, I went ahead and launched it early. And I'm giving you all insight into something that was supposed to launch on the 7th, but I hurried up and posted it yesterday with no social media around it yet. That starts on the 7th. So let me just share my screen. Give me 1 second.
So that's an exclusive part, Melissa.
Yeah.
So we have lots of exclusives in this panel. Please.
Yeah, exactly. That's my
Yes.
wish.
Yes.
Okay. It should be coming up soon. Hopefully my computer will cooperate, and let me know, is it coming up now?
Yes.
Okay, good. I've included my contact details for anyone who would like to reach out, and my Twitter handle. So you've got my email and my Twitter handle. And yes, I am IBM Z's chief penguin. Apparently at IBM, I was able to create my own animal title, and I even changed it in our corporate directory. So if you are an IBM employee and you look me up in the directory, it says chief penguin. And you thought IBM was boring. All right, so I am very fortunate to have had an opportunity to spend time with your team in Berlin last year, and also spend time with the AfICTA team in during Internet Governance Forum. So I'm very pleased to be here today and have an opportunity to share a few different things that IBM is doing specifically in the area of capacity building. This is not just a job for me. I actually have 3 companies. One of them is based out of Tunisia. And when I say my company, I am the one who came up with the concept, but I'm not on any of the paperwork, and I don't need to be. It's all youth-led and youth-run out of Tunisia. We have now taught tens of thousands of young people to code in 12 countries. We have a robotics lab, we have an IoT lab, a partnership with the U.S. Department of State, and it's all about empowering young people to learn technical skills and become entrepreneurs. My last name is Sassi, which is Tunisian, and a very big piece of my heart is on the continent. My 3 children live in Tunisia, Zahra, Zahran, and Yumna. I have not seen them in almost a year because of COVID. And for me, digital inclusion is not just about getting a good job. It's not just about getting a good education or having access to healthcare. For me, it's access to my children because my children live in Tunisia with their father. And everything that I do is about how do I build a better future and a better continent for my children and for everyone on the planet who is lacking access to the internet, because we know that 48% of the world lacks access to the internet. And as we all talk about artificial intelligence and machine learning, we still have significant populations of the world and the continent that can't even access a device or can't even access the internet. So there are many things that all of us need to do to figure out, you know, how do we build affordable solutions for access to the internet, but also empowering everyone on the planet to be safe online, as we heard from some of the panelists today. I'm going to talk to you about 3 topics. One is a specific program where I'm looking for 55 new startups next year. And if 34% of my startups now are from the continent, let's see what we can do to have more startups coming from the continent to be part of my IBM program. I'm going to talk to you about an ideathon, which is all about capacity building and empowering young people to share their skills forward in their communities. There's also prizes and scholarship money. And then finally, a call to action for all of us to create national days of code, an African day of code, and inspire the world to create an international day of code. So I'm going to first start off with the IBM HyperProtect Accelerator, which is the program that I run globally. It's my baby. I left Microsoft after being there for 5 years to create the program. And by the way, in my role at Microsoft, I built energy access solutions. We built solutions in Malawi, in South Africa, in Kenya, in partnership with local entrepreneurs. Because in my role, I knew that capacity building needs to come from the local community in terms of, again, being creators, makers, and doers, and not sending something in from Redmond, Washington, or New York, or Silicon Valley, but how can we share knowledge and enable locally relevant solutions to be created? Because at the end of the day, no matter how much I say, wow, my children live in Tunisia, I'm not Tunisian. And I may miss all of the intricacies of what it means to be Tunisian, or Egyptian, or Nigerian, or Kenyan, no matter how much time I spend on the continent. I've got 15 startups in the program from 2019, 30 startups this year, and I'm recruiting 55. Application process opens in April, and I'll talk a little bit about what startups are able to receive. But again, at least, you know, more than 53% of our startups have at least one female founder. Application process opens in April, closes in July. We start mentorship in September, ends in November. It is one of the first fully virtual startup accelerators before that was a thing. So we started doing virtual mentorship and a virtual accelerator well before COVID-19. So we were ready for the pandemic without realizing that we were ready for the pandemic. What do startups get? 2 years of technical mentorship to help them build and scale. These are real people, actual one-on-ones. I have a number of different startups in Nigeria, in Kenya, and I'm looking to grow the number of startups that I have across the continent. I have many startups that are doing other activities, you know, on the continent, but I'm very, very focused on what can we do to capacity build when it comes to local entrepreneurs. We also provide 1 year of business mentorship that's all about investment readiness. We have a wonderful board of directors and advisory, you know, folks. But you can't do that without access to cloud credits. So our startups get $120,000 in cloud credits. And it's not about how does IBM become a cloud vendor? Anybody can become a cloud vendor, but how do we go to market together? How do we invest in one another and gain access to the IBM network so that startups can gain access to larger customers that might sit within the IBM portfolio that might not normally, be open to hearing from a new startup. So what can a large tech company do to capacity build? What can a large tech company do to help empower startups? Go-to-market activities, co-marketing. I think for anyone who knows me, I don't tell stories about, wow, IBM's so great, look what IBM did. It's more from the voice of the founder. Look what the founder did. Look at the impact that this has had on a local woman in Kenya. For example, one of our startups just got $1.5 million in funding from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, which we're really excited about. We have another one that's in the process of rolling out a Pan-Africa contract. I can't release it yet, but there's some really exciting things that are happening. And I also feel that these startups are also helping to teach me and helping to teach us. So it's not just about, what are we doing as big tech and big IBM? We have a lot to learn from local startups. We have a lot to learn from the continent and the local challenges that are happening, across the continent. You can read more here. I've included a link to the page. So if you know any local entrepreneurs who would like to apply, you can read here. We'll be sharing more. The best place right now to check out everything going on is my Twitter handle, which I'll share that in a second. I do a lot of just outreach and activities from my personal handle because I have a lot more freedom and leeway to share what I want to share versus going through the big PR engine of a large company. All right, now let's jump into a platform, and this is all about capacity building. It's a skills platform, an innovation platform, and a jobs platform. And it's aligned to people who are exploring technology, people who are already innovating in technology, and new collar workers. There's badges, courses, and also a job search. It doesn't just look at, what are the technical skills that somebody might need to have to be a cloud solution architect, for example, a web developer, a blockchain developer. It also looks at the soft skills that are required to be prepared for the future of work, whether that's presentation skills, agile working environments.
And Melissa, just wanna ask a question.
Yes, go ahead, please.
This platform is focusing more on the public, or on the users, or on the professional, or it covers sort of percentages.
All of them. So it's for young people, it's for early professionals. I typically see that people in kind of either latter stage of high school, university, or young professionals using it is what I see, but there's no reason why it has to be young professionals. This is something that's kind of owned, if you will, within IBM by our Middle East Africa division. And this is something especially for Africa. It's free in Africa. Actually, me sitting here in Texas, I can't even access it if I wanted to. It was specifically designed for the continent and as a free solution for young people to get skilled, but also for new collar workers to think about a potential job shift. It's all there.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm actually
Okay.
jealous of it because I don't have access to it, and I like it, and I would love to use it in other countries. So it's something very specific for Africa. You can find it at digitalnationafrica.com. For anyone who would like to talk about this specifically, again, you can reach out. I can get you connected to the right people in each of your individual countries. Again, it's free and virtual, and anyone on the continent can access it.
Okay, Melissa, I have to refer back to Mr. Koffi and get back to you, so if you can.
Yep, ask me, come back to me again because I've got my special announcement.
Sure.
All right, so let me stop sharing.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Koffi, please, would you reflect? So I have another question for Engineer Hany, and would like to have your feedback first.
Okay, thank you very much, Marwan,
Yes.
for the opportunity to speak.
Yes.
Well, what I want to say specifically is that capacity building is a keystone for digital transformation. So it must be properly planned, acquired, and maintained. So I wanted to give you just a small background information, because with a recognizable effort by many African countries to drive a digital transformation, let me inform you that e-learning systems have not been properly implemented in the education system because they have not met the success it was supposed to be. It was supposed to happen. So I think at this stage, what we need to think of is a strategic planning for ICT capacity building, which should start at the very beginning stage of policy design. I want us to stress the need for African communities to properly tailor capacity building, ICT adaptation of digital goods according to the national environment. Let me just give you an example, specifically when we're talking about the fourth industrial revolution, particularly advanced technologies such as artificial intelligence, machine learning, just to name a few. They are far from universally available because they were not packed or packaged to meet most African ICT or digital needs. So as for me, there's a need to frame or to tailor the capacity building in developing digital Africa, actually to redress digital inequality and to contribute to social and economic inclusion. So what is needed at this stage? A multi-stakeholder participatory mechanism where the research and education community should team up with other stakeholders such as government and industry to build actually a specific framework in order to develop an analytical, critical, and conceptual approach on skills development in the digital era. What we found
for the entire continent, you mean?
Exactly. Okay. For the entire continent. Because, you know, Africa is a very diverse continent. What is available, what is happening, or what is feasible in the southern region or even in South Africa is not the same in Nigeria, in Botswana, in Gambia, just to tell. So we really need to understand the local context. That's why we need to think about the local digital goods, local digital needs for the continent. That's why I said on the local perspective, there's a need for that multi-stakeholder participatory mechanism where the research and education community should meet the industry, the government, to use the outputs of a capacity building mechanism to build the socio-economic or to address the socio-economic development issues. Okay. I wanted to finish by informing you or by telling you the following, that especially as we navigate 2020 with COVID-19 and many outbreak lockdowns, African countries need to be better prepared to face the next inevitable pandemic, and there's a need to wider inclusion in post-COVID-19 economic recovery, as this platform is private initiative led. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Koffi. It's very insightful and very important points also to the integration between African countries and having a unified technical vision. I'd like to shift to Engineer Hany and like to ask you, Engineer Hany, about the key challenges and the integration of these challenges across Africa for such important topic, please.
Thank you, Marwan. Actually, there is a lot of challenges in Africa about capacity building. So I can put it into 3 or 4 items. Number one is the infrastructure. So we're still far behind the rest of the world in terms of infrastructure. So the fiber optics, the modern switchboards and things like that. So I think we need as African countries to invest more on infrastructure. The second challenge is accessibility to the internet. So my colleagues from Texas was saying that 40-something% of people around the world doesn't have access to internet, and definitely when it comes to Africa, it's even more than 40%. So access to internet now became not largely. It's essential now for everybody to be able to access the internet and use the information and use services that can be provided by the internet. Number 3 is this is for capacity building. Number 3 is really the old generation in Africa, like the rest of the world, they are not very keen to, at a certain age, to really be acquainted to the modern technology and be part of the digital transformation. So our big challenge is how can we really simplify things for them to help them actually to bring them into the digital transformation era, and also focus on the youth to make sure that the new generation in Africa are really coming very acquainted and very equipped with everything to help them to be part of the new technology era, and help them by providing them with the tools, training, and everything to make sure that they can really change Africa from analog to digital, and to facilitate the new services of the digital transformation. So I think those are the 3 big challenges: infrastructure, access to internet, and having 2 programs for the old people and for the youth to prepare them for the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Engineer Hany. That was really insightful with the 3 challenges. And I'll go to Wunmi. Please, would you add to our challenge list? Now we're making a critical challenge list for developing the capacity, the IT capacity within Africa. Wunmi?
So hard to, hello. I think listening to the last speaker, Hany, I think he has done a good job in identifying the major challenges that we have. But one of the things that we'll probably want to ask how hard to hit, more importantly, is retraining of teachers. Retraining of teachers. We need to do that. You cannot, as even if we have all the infrastructure, we need all of those things he has said, and the people to deliver don't know what to do. That's a big challenge.
So the educational sector is critical from your
educational sector. I listened in the morning when, for Nigeria, Galaxy Backbone was talking about what they have done and what they have in place. And I'm very happy that Dr. Olufuye agreed with them, obviously seeing what he had known. But the question is, what and when will the policies of government across Africa deploy infrastructure to academic institutions? When you don't have academic institutions have the right access to internet, and then enabling research, enabling things to work well, then we produce graduates who are very large number of people who cannot make a difference out of their degrees. So I would suggest that we really need one big challenge is the knowledge factor, the human infrastructure, what I call the human infrastructure. And the human infrastructure must have to do with retraining of the teachers, of the lecturers, of professors. I had to speak at a webinar just about a week ago, and I was talking to so many professors who can do the research, who openly discussed and said that they have a lot of outputs, but it's just for publications. Many of them have not seen the material that's the core of their field. Imagine talking to a professor of renewable technology and he has never seen a solar cell. That's a big challenge for us in Africa.
It doesn't move to implementation or application. And this is where the real value is. This is what you mean, right?
Yeah. So we really need to build that knowledge gap, that challenge of you see, we have knowledge, but there is a skill gap, and we need to face that squarely. We can't just talk the grammar, we can't just talk the theories and not do the thing. That is a big issue, and I really think that should be part of our challenge really to manage.
Thank you, Hany. I'll go to Koffi again, and then we're gonna go forward to Melissa. But first, Koffi, I'd like you to add some, if you have more challenges. We have now a list of 4 challenges that are in front of us. The infrastructure, the internet accessibility, people and their keenness with different technology acceptance level, and training of teachers with the skill gap added by Hany. So please, Koffi.
Thank you very much again, Marwan. Well, as a challenge is what I can, because other speakers have already mentioned what is needed.
Yes.
But as of me, I think, as I said initially, I said capacity building is a keystone for digital transformation. So it must be properly planned and maintained. So before you plan it, you need to understand the local context. What is needed? It should not be actually designed based on international standard. Assessment, because I gave you an example about the e-learning program, who have been actually, many government, many African communities have implemented e-learning system in the education system. But I can tell you, if we do assessment today, many of them have not been successfully implemented because it has not met the community ICT or digital needs. We need to understand the local context. So if there's a gap between the local environment, the local needs, and the capacity building, then there's a problem. So I think as a challenge is what we need to address is, at the end of the day, how do we redress the digital inequality? How do we actually translate ICT capacity into national policy and formulation?
Yes.
Those are things we really need to address. How to reduce the gap between the capacity building strategy and national policy formulation.
Yes.
Because after the policy formulation, then we go to implementation at the national level. So it needs to be properly tailored.
And localized.
And localized.
Yes. Thank you, Koffi. I'll go to Melissa with extra challenges. You can see Melissa and the rest of your presentation, of course. Please.
Excellent. So I want to highlight 2 additional challenges,
Yes.
and then I'll jump back into my presentation. Number 1, access to funding for local entrepreneurs. It's a challenge. Every entrepreneur I talk to, and granted, it's hard to access funding everywhere, but it's especially challenging on the continent. And I also think we need to have more youth at the center. We need to think more in the mindset of for youth, with youth, by youth, and how to empower youth by putting them in leadership positions. I'm going to jump back to my presentation, which highlights an opportunity for young people to share their ideas forward. So this is what I was working on yesterday to launch especially for today. I was supposed to launch this on the 7th and I decided, nope, I'm not. I'm going to share it today. It's called the IBM Z for Good Ideathon. It's on the 19th of December. It's for students, with students, by students, and to empower students to learn digital skills and to share their skills forward in their local communities. And it's going to be student-led training and workshops. I'll include a link here so you can check out the training agenda. We launch on the 7th of December with a video campaign, What's Your Coding Story? And young people will have an opportunity to win $1,000 toward education expenses. And I use education expenses broadly because it could be used toward buying a computer. It could be used toward whatever they want, as long as it's educational in nature. We'll have the Ideathon on December 19th, where young people will be provided with training on digital skills, professional development topics, and have access into real people having real jobs in application development, early stage employees. And again, this is all youth led and youth run. They'll be given a digital skills in a box event kit so that they can take the skills they learned, localize them in a way that's relevant for their local community, and share their skills forward. We are partnering with code.org, Junior Achievement, a number of different nonprofits from across the continent and across the world, as well as UNESCO. I'm open to ideas.
Congratulations.
If AfICTA would like to be an official collaborator, tell me. If any of you would like to be official collaborator, tell me. All right,
so we'll have an open invitation now.
Yes, it's an open invitation.
Yes, sure. AfICTA will be interested. We'd love to be part of it.
Excellent, very good. So we'll have student-led events everywhere from December 20th to January 17th. And then we'll have another video campaign of how I shared my skills forward, another opportunity to win $1,000. We'll have a global event, an announcement of the winners, and video challenges on January 23rd. So lots of fun opportunities. Here is where you can encourage young people to register. Sorry, Wunmi, did you have a question?
Wunmi?
I think you're on mute, Wunmi.
Please go ahead.
Continue, Melissa.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
We can hear you now, Wunmi.
Okay, I said my NGO, which is largely doing things with women and youths, would like to collaborate on that too.
Awesome. And Wunmi, you're in Nigeria, right?
Yes.
I have another opportunity for you. Hit me up with an email. Today, I have another event coming up where we can work together on a second event before this.
No problem.
Awesome. I look forward to it. Thank you, Wunmi. You can learn more here and register for the event here. Share this far and wide. Again, we announced this here before it's globally being launched by IBM on the 7th. I'll be sharing a lot of updates through my Twitter handle at Mentor Africa with a K. I'm going to zip through this so you've got everything. The last thing I want to share is a call to action for all of us. A National Day of Code, an Africa Day of Code, an International Day of Code. This is an example of something that I created in collaboration with the Secretary of State from Cape Verde, where we got a shout out from the Prime Minister of Cape Verde. We got a shout out from the Vice Prime Minister. And we brought in a couple of famous musicians to learn to code for the first time. No, they didn't build any mobile applications. They aren't going to go out and change the world with their technical solutions because we only did it for 10 minutes. But what it did is it demystified computer science for Dino and Jocelyn. And it also demystified computer science for the many young people who participated in this National Day of Code. So I would like to challenge my Egyptian colleagues, my Nigerian colleagues, and all of my colleagues who are here listening today from wherever you are to collaborate with me so that we can create National Days of Code in each of your countries and truly put our money where our mouth is and inspire youth with computer science. You can find my details here, my Twitter handle, as well as my email address, and let's call this an open call for collaboration.
Well, thank you, Chief Penguin, for all of these insights and announcements.
Shukran ya malam.
That's very Egyptian and African too as well. So thank you. And now we're going to shed a very important question to Imni. What we want to conclude, all of us, we want to conclude with a possible list of solutions, as we have a list of challenges. I'll read the list of challenges that we were able to sum it up in terms of infrastructure, internet accessibility, people differences of technology acceptance, training and skill gap for teachers and educational part, local context and localization and local needs understanding, access to funding for entrepreneurs, and putting youth more into the center or youth-centric approach. I'll leave Wunmi with her final remarks, and maybe we will be able to put a solution list as well. Wunmi, please.
Okay. I think my final remark would actually be talking about the fact that to help build African capabilities, we need to be strategic. We need to be able to map out a plan that takes from the primary level. One of the things you just mentioned is acculturization. And I'm happy that Melissa mentioned that we want to take capability or capacity building away from just big computer science. We will need to begin to see Africans getting interested in development, in production, in manufacturing. And this will help us to do things in a different way. That means the attitude with which we learn in schools will be completely different. If from primary schools, children, secondary schools, tertiary, we are made to see that we needed to become producers of technologies, then it will help us to be better in our learnings. And then our skills will be well articulated. And then we are not just going to be dealing with certificates. We'll be dealing with skills, we'll be dealing with content, we'll deal with intellectual capacities. And of course, we can roll out a whole lot of patents. We can have companies, even primary school students, secondary students can start companies even when they are in schools. And I really feel that very soon we need to see an African man or woman, girl or boy, who indeed are techies and they are ready to make a difference across the world. I think that would be my last and closing remark, because I feel that with all of the opportunities, like Melissa said, funding is not available to us at this side. So with the little that we have, we can harness in such a way that we can make our people to become very interested, not just to use these technologies, but to design them, to develop them, to manufacture them. We can be proud Nigerians, we can be proud Kenyans, proud Ghanaians, proud everyone in Africa that it is for us and it is solving our local problems. It's for us to bring them in and then just begin to adapt them. There is good for us to do technology adaptation, but more importantly is to solve our local problems using those technologies. It doesn't matter how crude it is. We can begin to refine, can begin to have them better as we proceed. So I think by and large, thank you for having me in session, and I really enjoyed every time.
Thank you, and thank you very much for your insight. Now, Koffi, please participate with us in trying to create our final remarks and solutions list, please.
Well, thank you very much, Marwan, for giving me the floor again. First of all, I think about a clear roadmap for contextualize the digital Africa. A clear roadmap.
Yes.
Secondly, an integrated digital and data policy governance framework with tailored training resources. My third solution will be a public investment in innovative and local multidisciplinary digital policy research. Research is important at this stage. And finally, my last word will be a call. Call on public policymakers and government to pool resources to meet countries' digital policy needs. So that's my final remark.
Okay, thank you, Koffi. That's very nice with our three solution. And we close with Melissa. Please tell us your insights about solutions that might be viable for digital Africa.
Yeah, I think today I tried to provide, some examples of the solutions that I could bring to the table, through my employer, real solutions that are, available now, either for early stage entrepreneurs, or young people. We all still have a lot to learn, and I've heard a lot of people talk about the importance of a multi-stakeholder approach. I try to work through, academia, the nonprofit sector, the public sector, and bringing everyone together, because we all have different experiences and we all, don't know what we don't know. One of the things that I'm trying to do more of is figure out, how is IBM, I can, connect my startups to funding opportunities. It's one of the biggest challenges that I see. And frankly, I haven't cracked it yet. I'm trying. And it's a hard time, especially during COVID-19. But one of the things that I feel like I have been able to crack into is youth capacity building. In my last role at Microsoft, I, tried to crack into, how do we empower, the continent or beyond, with access to the internet. And, even after years of work, I still felt like we were trickling along, when it came to, building networks. But I think there also needs to be, regulatory reform when it comes to unlicensed spectrum, and more openness when it comes to building community networks, which I know is often a very controversial conversation in certain settings. But at the end of the day, I look at it like this. We all need access to the internet, and COVID-19 has shown us that. We all need digital skills to be prepared. And if a lot of things are moving online and people don't have access to that, will we be creating a fourth world? I want to be part of the change that enables people to be part of whatever they want to be part of, whether that's healthcare, education, agriculture, economic empowerment. So as I mentioned, I have a few opportunities that are available to people on the continent today, and I'm always happy to collaborate, to learn more, and to do a better job wherever I can to empower the next generation of young people, as well as elderly, to not just be consumers of technology, but creators, makers, and doers empowered by technology.
Thank you, Melissa, for everything. And thank you all. We can summarize now the solutions of our very insightful, strong panel through the need to be strategic, production and manufacturing focus, starting from school and from early educational stages, a clear roadmap for digital Africa, integrated data policy framework, public investment in digital research policy, multi-stakeholder approach, and a youth-centric capacity building. By these points, these insights, we end up our exciting panel, and I am very thankful and very proud to be part of such, and wishing all the best for Africa and for AfICTA as well. Thabo, thank you very much.
Much appreciated, Marwan and Messiry. And we are very appreciative of the panelists in actually sharing their expertise on the subject matter. This is a very important subject. It deals with capacity building, and you could see that there is different or a multi-pronged approach to this problem. We were exposed to the thinking, which is the current thinking on how to deal with it, deal with multi-stakeholders, approach to dealing with this problem. Look at the citizens in general, the users, super users, as well as professionals themselves. When you're talking about capacity building, it does not necessarily speak only to professionals, but we also have to educate, at least at an awareness level, all our populace. So it also we heard some of a very passionate sharing of ideas about Africa being more practical, having our students to actually be doers. It's all good to have degrees, it's all good to have all those accolades, but if you have the highest level of qualification, but you have never seen the insides of a computer, it begs to question, it's actually a master of what, if you are a master indeed. So it is very interesting to have heard such direct views that are so practical, that are very useful to us, and I hope that as the audience, you have got takeaways from what has been presented, and I'm very much challenging that we actually engage with the IBM initiatives that have been put forth. They sound to be very practical. They are accessible. Of course, we need to have access to internet to access them in the first place. And they are things that our youth actually need. If they get to be in this type of programs, not necessarily this one, but we have Melissa here, she's putting it out there, she's availing herself, she's availing the resources of her company to us, to say, here are the resources, get everybody on board. And I actually nudge and challenge each and every one of us who's here, and all the country representatives that are in this forum, to take heed of all these initiatives that have been put forth. At the least is for us to present all these initiatives to our principals, and have them to try and put campaigns around them. Get the students. I think most of the students in Africa, they actually finish their schooling in December. Those that are actually finishing to go to the universities and all that, is this not an opportune time for them to be involved in things that are practical, in things that are making a difference directly? Is it not opportune for us to ensure that the capacity building takes off with programs that are practical, and we can see the results of at least in the foreseeable future. Instead of having kids going to universities for 4 or 5 years, they come back, they still have not touched anything of significance, and they do not know really what is what. I'm not necessarily saying we should not go that route, but I'm putting the challenge. We have got these challenges that are there, and through AfICTA, I was very excited that I heard we had our leadership here, and we in support of raising our hands. We're raising the hands. We're saying, yes, I'm in. Yes, count me in. And I think this is where we need to run these campaigns. We need to push for this initiative to at least get to the marginalized and and those who would not necessarily have access to this type of opportunities. It is imperative that we take these opportunities to heart and to bear. Much appreciated. I have to say thank you to the panelists on IT capacity building. Thanks a lot to our moderator, Marwan. We really appreciate the inputs that have come through. I do not know if there were any questions that were not addressed, but I see that there's no open question on the Q&A side. So my assumption is that all the questions with regards to this particular session, they were addressed. But I just have maybe one question. It might actually go maybe to Wunmi Hassan, because I've heard to Dr. Wunmi Hassan, she was speaking very much passionately on practical implementation, practical doing. I like so much the approach that she is actually proposing to us. She's challenging us on something that is actually very much doable. If we go this route, I see a lot of impact happening. But the question that I want to have is how do we influence both from I wouldn't say policymakers, but the industry itself, to actually be receptive more on those who've got vocational skills and skills of being able to code. Even if we have a kid that is coming directly from high school, but if they know how to code, so that they are recognized and given accolades and giving the requisite recognition for them to be able to be working directly as compared to companies looking for BSc computer science graduates that they don't necessarily can deliver, because the only way to do fourth industrial revolution is to have people that we are going to train specifically, train them to do programming, train them to do data analysis, train them directly to do specific skills, and with that they can then maybe as time goes on build up to generic skills that are in the degree level. But at this point we need people who are specific. How do we convince the business to doctor, if maybe yeah, I don't know if I can't get your voice, sorry, it might be from my side. Yeah, you can go ahead, doctor, just unmute yourself.
Okay, so I think in response to that, I quite realized in the last 5-6 years that we began to explore hands-on, that it was a bit challenging. People were not even believing that it is real, that we could do it. But over time, in the last 1-2 years, I can tell you that for Nigeria, I have seen companies who send me messages. And once they see the posts for our trainings, they tell me, doctor, we will sponsor 2 people, we will sponsor 3 people, train them for us, and we will give them employment. Because the truth now is that even the organized private sector, they don't have so much funding again to be continuously training staff. So I have seen many people who are already calling me, pulling their funding to say, we saw that you are teaching them on how to do ABCD. If you have 2 good people that graduate and they can do this, then we give them automatic job. This is one of the advocacies we are pushing to government. But the question with government is, if the people are trained and they employ them in the government circle, what will government make them to do? Sit in the office and carry files? They'll be redundant. So one of the things I advocate particularly is that let us build manpower. Let us have as many that we can say these ones are good. Either they are 20, they are 50 in different fields. Then let them do something that government will come and see
and they will know that that capability is available in their own country. Because many times we celebrate what we call the expatriates, and then we bring them from international, Western world, and then we leave our locals who obviously know exactly what to do in that field. So I think we need a joint collaboration in this. And then, for instance, as I speak with you, some of the young boys and girls who are not in the university in Nigeria is shut down, and many of them are on training now. They finish their class and we give them projects on coding. So they are doing some things on community policing. And that is such a big one for them, because they were beginning to see their coding to solving a local security problem, looking at different communities. I tell you, it's been an exciting more than 2-3 weeks for these young people. Apart from them learning coding, they are coming together. I gave them projects. This morning, I have told the team, I am still giving you a new project. So they come with those projects, and these young people are super excited. And deliberately, we make sure that they went through digital literacy, because many of them assume they know how to use computers. But when you ask them, touch a screen, they don't know the monitor. You will be surprised that these things are real, but that is the reality. I have seen those realities, so I don't assume that even when professors come, I tell them, I'm taking you through digital literacy. And you will be surprised that when they begin the first day, second day, oh, we didn't know that. Oh, I never knew that is the meaning of that. And that is the beginning of us rebuilding skills in Africa. We don't want to assume that we know what we think we assume, because we read them every day, because we hear them in discussions like this. People think they know them, but when they see it physically, they can't point to it. So I am looking for raising such young people, youth, from schools, from those who are not going to school, but they can understand what we are saying, and they are using technology anyway. Let me raise at least minimum of 50 of them every quarter, and then they have different skills that they can be showcased, and then people will know that these people have this, and then the products will show likewise. So those are the things, and we are ready for partnership. One of the things we are looking for now as an NGO is to partner with tertiary institutions who can give affiliate certificates to some of our courses, so that way it will help, because anyhow we like it, Nigerians or Africans still like certificates. Even organizations will demand for the certificate. So we want to make sure that the certificates we are giving them carry another affiliate tertiary institution recognition that will help them to be able to be presentable. But more importantly is to show their skills, is to tell people they can do it, and they show what they can do, and they are taking in. So really, I would like to work with as many as possible to make sure that we have this loop. There must be a network that takes them from one level to the next level to the next. So after their 1 or 2 weeks learning, they have projects they do. So it's not just, when people ask me, is it just for the 3 days? Is it just for 1 week? I said, no, they finish learning and they have practical things they need to solve. And then we follow them up to making sure that that product is a success. And that is a way to scale them. I'm sure with Melissa's support, and not that Melissa mentioned, we can scale them up to the industry and see better things out of the young people, even women these days. I remember during the lockdown, because we have a community hub, it's a very small space I'm using, but it was serving my community. So during the lockdown, we're training children. We saw parents who brought their children for coding, but when they finished listening to me, the fathers are the ones that did the coding class. That's as beautiful as it has become, because they were not doing anything at home. They were just locked down. So many of the parents started arranging themselves. So they told the children, you do animation, we will do coding. And that is becoming very interesting. So my NGO have to launch what I call the STEAM Boys Tech Men. STEAM Boys Tech Men, so that men can come in. Don't let them see us that we are just doing things for women and for young people. Deliberately, we launched the STEAM Boys Tech Men so that we can have men come in. I'm not joking. When we did the waste to wealth technology, biogas digester, and we were able to produce cooking gas from waste, I felt this is beyond us women. We need more families. We need individuals to understand that this thing is simple, it is doable, we can replicate it in other homes, and everybody can use technology at the simple levels, and then we can make a difference for ourselves in Africa. So yes, we are ready for everything, sir. Yeah.
Thank you, Wunmi. Much appreciated for that. It's my last question, and this is very appreciated from a practicality perspective. I just want to field a question to Melissa. Melissa, much appreciated for your presentations and your initiatives. I think most of the people are very excited. I wrote lots of notes here with regards to making sure that I do not miss. I think at some point I had missed an N in the Mentor Africa. I would have found you anyway with one of this. I would have found you. I just wanted to ask, especially with the Digital Nation Africa.
Yes.
You highlighted this resource is a very important resource. Why I'm talking about it once more. I'm highlighting it because I know a large proportion of people who are over 30, they most probably their skills are out of date. And this is going to be very critical and useful for them.
And you get badges. You get badges too. I think one of the things that you were talking about, you know, with Wunmi was around, you know, people liking certificates, and you know, this solution gives you access to badges, you know, so that you've got an industry recognized credential, you know, from a third party that tells you, hey, this person has these skills. This person has went through this career path or this learning journey, and this person has devoted, you know, X number of hours, you know, to a specific topic, whether that's data science, whether that's, you know, application development, blockchain, AI. So when we talk about, you know, access to examples, it's in front of us. It's right there. And I think sometimes it's about knowing where to look. And if you don't know where to look and you're new to technology, it seems scary, you know? And I think there's also this fundamental challenge with how computer science is taught. You know, even just putting the word science in there sounds scary. But if we were to teach it like it was a language, a foreign language, like an art, like music, like dance, like theater, it would be more welcoming. You know, how many of us speak other languages, whether it's, say, you know, a local dialect or, you know, for me, I speak Arabic, I speak Spanish, I do okay in French and Italian. And if as a young person, I saw computer science like a language, I wouldn't see it as some guy in a basement hacking away in a hoodie eating cold pizza, because that's what I thought about computer science as a young girl. That's what I thought about when I saw the movie, you know, different movies in the 80s. I thought it was something for boys. So I think there's this fundamental disconnect between how we describe computer science and what computer science actually is. It's not so welcoming. So I think there's many things that we need to do to make it more welcoming, and, you know, also to rethink the concept of education and really be welcoming to the informal sector. I know a lot of large tech companies have started to do that, IBM included, but it hasn't made its way to smaller companies. It hasn't made its way throughout the world, and there still is this fundamental disconnect between, you know, being skilled and having skills.
Much appreciated. Thank you very much for the panelists. This has been very much enlightening. We will take you up on these initiatives that we are running, and I think from an AfICTA side, we will also run campaigns just to get the youth to engage on this particular campaigns.
And hopefully some of my IBM ones. I would really like that.
Oh, yes, definitely. Do that.
Especially with Wunmi at the table.
Yes, with Wunmi, we like the approach, the practical approach. While we get the courses going, we want Africanized type of solutions.
Absolutely.
Who can put skills to work. we've got many problems in Africa, and those problems, here we are, we've got solutions for them. Thank you. Much appreciated for that. We are now going to get into our graveyard shift. And for now, I will just like to ask that we have gone through the question and answer. If you've got any more questions, just post them into the Q&A. You will be able to get responses from our panelists. They are still available just to make sure that you are answered with regards to your questions. For now, let us take a break until 30 and just to pay our bills. I think we need to show some advertorials and the likes. Secretariat, please take over. We will come back at 2:30, 14:30 GMT, 13:30, 15:30 GMT plus 1, 16:30 GMT plus 2. So that's the time. It will be in 15 minutes time from now. Thank you. Can you? Thank you, Secretariat. Much appreciated.
What is the BC? What is the role of the BC, your mission within the GNSO and ICANN?
The business constituency's mission is to look after the interests of businesses who register domain names and business customers and users who rely upon the domain name system to reach the websites and email addresses of the businesses that have created them. And we really look at three priorities. We want the domain name system to be so trustworthy that businesses and their customers can be confident that they're getting to the domain name they were actually seeking. We also want to be sure that there's competition amongst all the different suppliers who provide domain name registration and registry services. And finally, we look for a domain name system where the unique identifiers are secure, stable, and reliable.
Thank you, Steve. And I can imagine that that must span quite a lot of interests, countries, and topics. Perhaps we can talk a little bit about your membership, who your members are, what your membership criteria is. So Claudia, would you mind telling us a little bit about those topics?
Of course. So BC members, as Steve has been saying, are usually internet business users that really use the internet to conduct their businesses. And we have small and large enterprises, and we are a very diverse group. In fact, we have, first of all, we have 76 members of the business constituency, and we have 13 members who are from Africa, 8 members who are from Asia, 10 members that are from Europe, Europe, and then 4 from Latin America, and the rest is North American businesses. So it's also, we are really diverse also in terms of gender. In fact, we have 32% of the business constituency enterprises are represented by women. And believe it or not, but in the leadership nowadays, we have 4 women out of 6 officers. So this is very encouraging to see that there are more women stepping up. And I'm very happy, as you can imagine, about that. But also in terms of criteria, you have to be eligible to be a BC member. You need to be a business that is conducted business over the internet. And I mean, non-eligible members would be typically an NGO or a political organization or a registrant that would have more than 30% of the revenues in their business. And so we have a credential committee that actually is looking at the applications, and then they would, if they need more information, they would reach out to the people, talk with the people, and but we do all we can to get diversity, to get new members in, and we are a very welcoming group of people that try to engage these newcomers.
That's very encouraging, and clearly congratulations on enrolling a number of increasing members from across the globe, and obviously diversity is very critical to us here at ICANN. Steve, you outlined earlier the mission and the role of the business constituency. Maybe you could elaborate on that and tell us about the policy topics and issues that the business constituency tends to focus on at ICANN.
Yeah, one category of our focus is the governance of ICANN itself. And the BC was proud to have been the designer of most of the new mechanisms by which the ICANN community of registrants and users holds the ICANN organization and board accountable to that community as part of the transition out of the US government oversight in 2016. And when we turn to policies that are cooking within the ICANN kitchen, we almost always are looking from the perspective of availability and integrity. The availability of registrations and resolutions in any language, 24/7, in any corner of the world. They need to be there for the business community to reach its customers. When it comes to the integrity of registrations and resolutions, we want to be sure that when you reach a domain name through an email or a website, that you're really reaching the website that you want it to. We want to be sure that there's integrity, that if promises were made about what you might experience within a given domain, we want to be sure that ICANN holds those parties to the promises they made. So it's about availability and the integrity of both registrations and resolutions.
And that seems to be a very important mission given the nature of business on the internet. Since we actually do want to have more newcomers and participants join the ICANN community, including within the generic name supporting organization, I was wondering if from the both of you, if you have any words of advice to newcomers who may be thinking of participating in ICANN policymaking or possibly even joining the BC.
Well, I would start by saying don't be shy and don't be scared about the ICANN community. We know that it can be intimidating, but actually, if you recognize our face around an ICANN meeting that you are joining, please come to us, ask questions, and engage with the community. Every point of view counts. Every questions is legitimate and it's important. So we really value new ideas. We really value new points of view, and we would be really happy to engage with newcomers.
Thank you. That generates a lot of other questions that I'm sure you'll be having people come up to you at ICANN meetings or reaching out to ask more about the business constituency and how to join. Steve, what do you think?
One of the most complex ways of entering ICANN is to walk into a meeting where you're encountering acronyms that mean nothing to you, or you're trying to understand arcane processes that you've never seen before. And the only antidote for that is to hook up early with another BC member that speaks your language, shares your culture. And I can promise you the BC member that's there to help you will explain some of these intricacies and complexities so that you can better appreciate why it's relevant to your business.
Thank you so much. Certainly, this is a very welcoming community, and there are plenty of mentors, including the two of you, I should think. And so thank you very much for your time today, and thank you for telling us a little bit about the business constituency.
Thank you.
So tell me a little bit about the new IBM HyperProtect Accelerator program.
I'm really excited to be here today as well and launch our IBM HyperProtect Accelerator program. We're focusing on fintech and health tech startups, less than $1 million in revenue, less than 5 years old, so early stage founders. And it's all about keeping your sensitive data safe. We know that there are often security breaches that we see in our social media, we hear about every day, and we think that instead of managing your data protection and privacy through policy, having technology that does it for you.
So what benefits then will startups see if they apply and get accepted into this program?
I would categorize it into three components. One being technology, so cloud credits, up to $120,000 in cloud credits over a 1 year period. Access to mentorship, so we'll provide both technical and business mentorship for 1 year virtual. So regardless of where you live in the world, this is available to you. And up to 2 years of technical mentorship from expert IBM engineers that can help you with your cloud storage, can help you with the HyperProtect product, blockchain, AI, all of the cool stuff that IBM has to offer.
So tell me a little bit about the selection process then and who you're targeting specifically.
Yeah, perfect. So I think the selection process is really all about choosing the best and brightest and most innovative solutions that are fintech and or health tech. And then I think the interesting opportunity for these partners, in addition to the stuff that I talked about previously, is co-marketing. Bringing IBM to the table when you're having, your conversations as a startup, whether that's with the VC community, angel investors. Our application process is pretty straightforward. You'll see that we only have a handful of questions, and we've really tried to streamline the process. A lot of startups are often applying to a lot of different programs, and there's a lot of stuff available out there, and hopefully ours, sets itself apart. And on behalf of the IBM Linux One team, we look forward to reviewing your applications.